Hey gang, Mocha Boy here. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning back in. So I got a message over Reddit's private messaging system from a Redditor named Alpha Armadillo, and I mean, obviously, I won't say what clan he's from, but he had seen the base design videos that we put out, and he figured, he would try to apply some of the concepts to his base and see how they work out. And he reached out to me for some feedback, just to see how, at least from a theoretical point of view, how the base would work out. So I thought I'd just cover a couple of quick points. But overall, Alpha, I have to say that you did an absolutely exceptional job at putting this base together. There are a couple of weak points that there's really nothing that you can that you can there's really nothing that you can do about them without sacrificing some other aspect of the base. And part of the issue is just that the offset of the TH is fine, but it's also so exposed that it offers up a pretty easy 2-star, which, again, that's fine if that's what you're trying to defend against, or if that's what your goal is, and that's, to make it so that your base, so that nobody can 3-star your base, which, at the higher levels you're going to find is a pretty big issue. But you picked up on a few things that I think are absolutely exceptional from a base design point of view, and that's how to effectively funnel troops. You set up a defensive-led line that would take anything attacking these and then shed them away from the center of the base. So even if somebody dropped a golem here and a golem here, or even a golem here, two of these golems would consolidate at that one cannon and then start to work their way up this way. At which point it would have, all of these DPS units raining down on them and kind of chipping away at the golems. And when you're building kind of an anti-golem base, this is the goal of an anti-golem base, and that's to take that moving wall of hit points and direct them to someplace where they can't defend the actual DPS. Now, the trick is, once you actually have the DPS in here, and that will typically consist of a BK, maybe a P.E.K.K.A., a bunch of wizards, maybe some witches. I mean, I don't know, it could be a whole bunch of things. They will have absolutely no trouble getting into here, but one of the things that I love about this is that you drop this double giant bomb in there along with this Tesla to to just kind of chip away. Now, one of the interesting things about the way that you position this Tesla is that you use the air defense as a bulwark for the Tesla. It's got an extremely high rate of fire and the highest DPS out of any of the other point defenses on the within the base, but the one thing it lacks is hit points. So pairing it up with a high defense, a high hit point defense like an air defense or an Expo is an extremely good idea. So, from a pathing perspective, I think this will accomplish the goals of shedding the golems and moving them kind of to the side of the base and then even up around the sides. I designed a base very similar to this, and I can tell you that it does work. Where things get a little dicey is when they do something like this. If they drop a golem here, and a golem here. If they do that, there's really not a whole lot that you can do, because this moving wall of hit points will just kind of, move in that direction. The nice thing about this, though, is that because of these, because of the way that you laid out the defenses, especially these high hit point structures, and this is something that you'll have to tweak over the course of time, is that these buildings will go down faster than these buildings, and obviously this building will go down the fastest because that's the fewest amount of hit points. So that's something to take into consideration, that if somebody drops kind of like a symmetrical line of wizards here, this wizard will get to there the fastest. This wizard will get to here, will take the most amount of time to get to this archer tower. Then obviously if they're a smart attacker, they'll just load up wizards kind of in that fashion, so that everything moves forward in a line at the same time. And that's the goal of any Go Wee Wee raid, is to keep the golems spread out, soaking up damage, so that the DPS behind them can go in and can take them out. Now, there's not a lot that you can do, because, again, the expectation here is that the attack will come in from the south, and if it does come from the south, you're in good shape. But when it inevitably comes in from the side or the corner, you're going to start running into trouble. And about the only thing that you can do to counter that is to put a buffer zone kind of between these defenses and the town hall. Now, how you do that, it's anyone's guess. You really just have to run some permutations on the base and see where people are attacking from. But any smart attacker that's looking at this base would probably come in from this angle. And it's this angle specifically because it's on the Archer Queen side, and you'd be able to move kind of as a wall of hit points as well as DPS moving forward. Now, again, this is just the type of thing that you're going to have to run the base up against a bunch of permutations and then make some adjustments. But that's the process. That's what makes this fun. Now, overall, I think the way that you laid out the base is fantastic. One of the key things that I want to point out here are you have your builder huts on the opposite side of the base, as well as these builder huts kind of tucked away and protected. These are probably your most valuable buildings, apart from many of the other ones, because they represent a very easy 5 percentage points. The base that I put together, attackers, and we're talking like max Town Hall 10 attackers, have only been able to score about 50 or 60% of it because they're coming in from the north, but then ignoring all the DPS which is actually behind the base on the opposite end. And that's something to consider when you're moving buildings around. Now, one thing you could potentially do is take all of these high hit point buildings and just reinforce this entire wall here and see how that works. Anything that you can do to slow the DPS down, so that the attacking DPS, that is, so that these troops can burn down the golems is a good thing. So even if you can hang up the wizards for 10 or 15 seconds, 20 seconds, that's a very good thing to do. So that's one of the reasons why Sucker Punch works as well as it does, is because it takes something like 20,000 hit points worth of buildings and then it just loads them up on one side of the base. So a very interesting thing there. Now the only issue that I would see if I was looking at this and I didn't know where the traps were is that these buildings here are free percentage points for air units. As a rule of thumb, I make sure that every single building has some amount of coverage from the air, so that so that somebody can't just drop a minion or an archer or whatever and then kind of plink away at that, because you'll see that happen. Somebody's attacking your base, they'll bring in cleanup troops, and you have to position these. You have to kind of like rejigger these buildings in such a way that everything is protected. For instance, this army camp, just one archer there is well out of the range of this cannon, and the same goes for that collector there. So this right here is an easy 5 percentage points, 6 percentage points, depending on depending on who's attacking. So yeah, try to find a way to kind of move those around and see what you can do about distributing, changing the distribution of them so that everything is covered. You've got good coverage up here with these archer towers, these cannons here. You've got, again, you did a great job with the pockets. I see that you reinforced your junctions. Again, it's a great thing when you see the attacks come in through here. Like a Go Wee Wee raid would do something like this. But they will eventually take this out and then just move up one side of the base. So that's something to note there. Now, as far as considerations, things that I might try to do is to relocate the hero pads to another location. So the three things that I would play with. I don't know if this is the answer, because I mean, obviously you've got to work through the permutations until you find something that works. But I would consider taking these hero pads and moving them to here. Taking the Teslas, potentially moving 2 inside and then another here, maybe, I'm not sure. Again, it's something that you might want to play around with. And then your Expos here. The reason that heroes kind of offset to the side are a good idea is that they have a tendency to lure troops away from your core. So if that means dropping, maybe drop a hero pad there and a hero pad there, which makes them vulnerable. I mean, I'll grant it makes them vulnerable, but it will draw attacking troops away from the core. Again, it's one of those things that you have to kind of play around with until you find something that works. But the configuration that you have is pretty strong, because what'll end up happening is as somebody attacks from the south, there'll be a late trigger on the CC. But the problem, it's a twofold problem. You'll get the late deploy on the CC, but everything will consolidate right around here. So as soon as they're done processing the CC, the next thing that they'll hit is the town hall. So as far as recommendations are concerned, about the only thing that I can think to do is to load up this pocket here. And this is a bit controversial, but this is something that I've done on a few bases and it's actually worked beautifully, and that's to load these up with non-defensive structures. With non-defensive structures, there's nothing for a golem or a hog or a giant to target, and they will shed to the side of the base. If it's high hit point buildings, like a trio of storages, then that'll hold off the troops, the DPS troops long enough for some long range defense to take care of them, and that's where this expo could come into play. So the idea is that they get locked up here, and then the expos fire on the south, and then the heroes again do a late trigger, but they're protected by a bunch of these walls. So that's one thing that I might consider trying. Now, as far as your double bomb placement, spot on. They're buried deep inside the base, which is just fantastic. I mean, they'd have to wreck half of your base, just to get at them, to disable them. So I think you did a great job there, and I love the fact that you split up some of the giant bombs along the common paths for Go Wee Wee. This one, I'm not sure will actually do anything, so you might want to consider pushing it off to maybe here, or even here. I mean, I don't know. It's just the replays will tell you where you need to push some of those traps. But in general, I think this is a fantastic base. It is an easy 2-star from the south or even the southwest. But again, the goal of at least the base designs that I put together are to both incur a revisit, but to keep the potential for a 3-star to a minimum. And within the last 7 attacks, attackers have been scoring somewhere in the 50 to 60% range, and with several revisits on the base, which is again was the original goal, and no 3 stars. So again, great job. If you get a chance to record some replays of this, I'd love to push them out so that we can see if some of the theories and the hypotheticals that we put forth actually bear fruit. So good luck with that base, and thanks for chiming in. All right, take care.